What if the biggest discovery in human history was made not by an astronaut, but by a robot, alone on a planet millions of miles from Earth? And what if that discovery wasn't shared with the world immediately, because it was too dangerous? Hit subscribe and leave a comment with where you're watching from. This story might just spark a new beginning. What's one thing that always pushes you forward, even when things get tough? It started on a quiet Thursday morning in Boca Chica, Texas, but nothing about what was coming would be quiet for long. Elon Musk, the man who turned electric cars into cultural icons and rockets into reusable marvels, had posted just one line on X, formerly Twitter: "Something extraordinary is about to happen on Mars." The tweet went viral in seconds, sparking wild speculation from every corner of the internet. Was it a breakthrough in terraforming? A hidden fossil? Proof of water? Life? No one knew, but one thing was certain. Something had gone down on the red planet. But to truly understand this story, you need to know what happened in the months leading up to it, because the world had no idea that Elon had secretly sent a second-generation Optimus robot aboard the Starship mission to Mars late the previous year. The public believed this mission was a trial run, an uncrewed voyage to test landing, communication, and environmental systems. But privately, it carried something more: a 6-foot humanoid machine named Optimus Prime 2, equipped with AI decision-making, autonomous navigation, and a singular goal: explore, report, and survive. This robot was humanity's eyes and ears, armed with a new neural network capable of interpreting anomalies, identifying unusual patterns, and, most importantly, communicating findings back to Earth without human prompting. The mission launched quietly, with only a skeleton team at SpaceX fully aware of the robot's real mission. Elon had been paranoid. Too many leaks, too many corporate spies. So, while the world watched the Super Heavy booster lift the massive silver spacecraft into the atmosphere, applauding yet another step toward making humans interplanetary, very few knew that something unprecedented was already underway. In the beginning, it was mostly routine. The spacecraft cruised silently through the void. Optimus ran basic diagnostics, calibrated sensors, and scanned for radiation spikes. It slept most of the time in low-power mode, waking only to make minor course corrections or check system integrity. But 3 weeks before landing, Optimus initiated a protocol it had not rehearsed: Environmental Anomaly Scan 14. It had detected an unexpected magnetic resonance pulse emanating from Mars' northern hemisphere, near Utopia Planitia. That in itself wasn't entirely surprising. Mars is full of quirks. But this pulse had a pattern: consistent, timed, deliberate. The robot flagged it as a possible artificial source. Elon was notified through a private secure channel. His first reaction was disbelief. Then curiosity. Then concern. Optimus was rerouted manually through a complex web of signal relays to avoid detection by international monitoring stations. It would land not at the scheduled flat basin, but on the edge of a geological formation previously dismissed as unremarkable. The detour meant higher risk, reduced power reserves, and less chance of being able to send a full report back. But Elon gave the go-ahead. "If it's nothing," he said, "then no harm done. But if it's something, I want to know before anyone else does." The robot landed safely on a wind-blasted ridge at dusk, Martian time. It stood up, shook off red dust, and began walking northeast toward the signal's origin point. Earth didn't hear from it for 37 hours. That silence wasn't a malfunction, it was intentional. Optimus had determined that any transmissions sent during its approach might be intercepted. Elon waited anxiously in the Starlink control room, surrounded by a small team of AI specialists and deep space engineers. When the signal returned, it came not as data, but as a single encrypted audio message: "Discovery confirmed. Requires immediate review." What came next was classified even from most of the SpaceX senior staff. Elon called an emergency meeting with select advisors, including one retired NASA astrobiologist and a specialist in planetary geology. They reviewed the footage Optimus had captured, grainy at first, then sharper as the robot stabilized its imaging hardware. What they saw stunned them. Carved into the base of a shallow crater was a geometric structure, triangular, layered, with what appeared to be embedded metallic objects. Not shaped by wind. Not by erosion. Something constructed. Something old. It had no direct symmetry, yet somehow appeared mathematically intentional. Elon leaned back in his chair, eyes wide but unmoving. The room was silent. Finally, the geologist whispered, "That's not natural." Elon didn't speak for a long moment. Then he said, "We don't tell anyone. Not yet. The secret held for 12 days. But secrets like that never stay buried. Especially not when the robot makes a second transmission, this one an automated emergency upload with full system diagnostics and 3D scans of the anomaly." The transmission was caught in a low Earth orbit relay sweep by an independent astronomer monitoring Mars' magnetosphere. He posted about the strange data signature on a Reddit science forum, where a retired radio technician recognized the pattern as SpaceX's frequency encryption. The thread exploded overnight. People began demanding answers. Then came the leak. An anonymous source uploaded blurry images to a decentralized server, captioned simply, "Proof of non-human architecture on Mars." The images were real. Elon had no choice. The morning after the leak, he scheduled a live stream, teasing a moment that will define our species. Millions tuned in. Dressed in a simple black SpaceX tee and jeans, he looked more serious than usual. "What I'm about to share with you," he began, "isn't science fiction. It's not speculation. It's data, gathered by a machine we built, on a world we've dreamed of for centuries." Then he played the footage. Raw. Unfiltered. The crater. The object. The structure. Then a close-up of one of the metallic protrusions, hexagonal, engraved with markings not dissimilar to ancient scripts found in Mesopotamian ruins. People screamed in chat. Some called it fake. Some dropped to their knees crying. Others stared blankly at their screens, not even realizing they were witnessing history. Elon waited, then leaned forward and said, "This changes everything. We are not the first intelligent beings to set foot, or metal, on Mars." But he wasn't finished. Because what Optimus found next made the first discovery seem almost tame. The structure wasn't just an artifact. It was a container. Inside it, beneath 6 layers of sediment and stone, the robot uncovered a pod-like chamber. Inside that chamber was a substance that has yet to be fully identified. It responded to energy, shifted its density, and even changed its shape depending on temperature and pressure. A smart material, unlike anything on Earth. It was then Elon revealed the most shocking part: we believe this material may be a form of data storage. Biological. Non-binary. Something closer to how the brain works than how computers do. A message, maybe. Or a memory. The live stream ended with one final quote from Elon: "We've spent centuries looking for signs of life out there. We were looking for microbes, rivers, bacteria. But maybe we were wrong. Maybe we should have been looking for signs of intelligence, not in the future, but in the past." The fallout was instant. Governments scrambled to respond. The Vatican issued a statement on the theological implications. NASA called an emergency press conference and cautiously confirmed the structure's existence. China and Russia demanded access to Optimus's raw data. Elon refused. "This isn't about nations," he said. "This is about humanity. All of us. Together." But not everyone agreed. Conspiracies bloomed. Some claimed it was a distraction from Earth's problems. Others feared that what had been found wasn't just an ancient relic, but a warning. Meanwhile, Optimus had gone silent again. Its last transmission contained a single line: "Another signal detected. Source unknown. Investigating." That's when people started asking the real question. If this was left behind, who left it? And are they still out there? Long before the world knew Elon Musk as the man who discovered an alien structure on Mars, before the livestream that changed everything, before the encrypted message from the Red Planet shook the scientific and religious foundations of Earth, he was just a boy sitting alone in his childhood bedroom in Pretoria, South Africa, reading a science fiction book by flashlight under the covers while the rest of the house was dark. The book was The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and it didn't just entertain him, it rewired him. Even then, Elon wasn't like other kids. He wasn't athletic, popular, or easy to talk to. His classmates didn't understand him, and frankly, he didn't understand them either. He was bullied, relentlessly, beaten so badly once that he spent a week in the hospital and couldn't breathe through his nose for almost a year. But through it all, he had one thing: curiosity. The kind of curiosity that doesn't just ask why, but asks what if. What if we're not alone? What if technology could save the world? What if Earth isn't our only home? That restless mind led him across continents. First to Canada. Then to the United States. From Queen's University to the University of Pennsylvania, where he studied physics and economics, not because he wanted to be a businessman, but because he believed understanding the universe and how people worked were the two most important things in life. His mother, May, was the one constant. A model, a dietitian, a survivor in her own right, she supported him not just financially, but emotionally. She always told him, "You're different, but that's your strength." And his brother Kimball, though different in temperament, more laid back, more attuned to food and community than rockets and robotics, shared Elon's entrepreneurial spirit. But the real pivot came in his 20s. After making millions from selling Zip2 and PayPal, Elon faced a question most people only dream about: now what? He could have retired, disappeared into luxury, funded causes from the sidelines. But he didn't want to be remembered as rich. He wanted to be remembered as useful. That's when he made what he would later call the 3 bets. One on sustainable energy, Tesla. One on interplanetary travel, SpaceX. And one on the human brain, Neuralink. Each company came with enormous risk, public ridicule, and near bankruptcy. Tesla was called a fraud. SpaceX rockets exploded on national television. Neuralink was accused of playing God. And yet, one by one, they started succeeding. Because underneath the eccentricity and ego, Elon had one thing people couldn't deny: vision. And a willingness to burn everything to achieve it. He once said, "I'm not trying to be anyone's savior. I just want to think about the future and not be sad." But that future came at a cost. His relationship suffered. His first marriage, to Justine, ended in divorce after the loss of their first child to SIDS, a tragedy that haunted them both and forged in Elon a complicated relationship with grief and vulnerability. Later, he'd go on to have multiple children with multiple partners, and his erratic work schedule, often sleeping on factory floors, pulling 100-hour weeks, made normal family life almost impossible. Friends came and went. Some said he was impossible to work with. Others called him a genius. But those who stayed close understood something others didn't: Elon wasn't driven by fame or money. He was driven by fear. The fear that humanity was wasting time. That we were sleepwalking into extinction. That our window to escape the cradle of Earth was closing. That fear pushed him harder than anything. It's why, when everyone else wanted to scale back during the 2020 pandemic, Elon pushed SpaceX harder. When regulators told him to slow down Starship development, he pushed faster. And when investors begged him to delay the Mars program due to rising costs, he pulled $6 billion of his own money to keep it going. The Optimus program was born from that same obsession. Officially, it was a robotics project to automate factory labor. But Elon always had a deeper purpose. He wanted a humanoid robot that could one day work on Mars, in environments too dangerous or difficult for humans. Not just for exploration, but for construction, survival, and eventual colonization. The first Optimus prototypes were clunky, slow, and awkward. They fell over, misread commands, and barely survived the heat tests. But Elon didn't care. He knew what he was building. Not a servant. Not a toy. A partner. A bridge between Earth and Mars. And when Starship was ready for its first interplanetary test, he insisted that Optimus be on board, not a tech demo, but a field trial. One robot. One planet. One chance. He kept that part of the mission secret, even from most of his board. Too much noise, he said. Let's get results, then we talk. The decision nearly cost him everything. Shareholders were furious. NASA was blindsided. His own engineers warned that deploying untested AI in a hostile environment could be a PR disaster. But he trusted his gut. And his gut told him that Optimus would find something. Or become something. He wasn't wrong. What Optimus uncovered wasn't just a Martian mystery. It was a mirror. A reflection of everything Elon feared and everything he hoped for. The geometric structure, the encoded material, the implication of an ancient intelligence, it wasn't just a breakthrough in science. It was validation. Validation that he wasn't crazy. That the billions he spent, the years he sacrificed, the relationships he strained, they weren't in vain. Because now, humanity wasn't just dreaming of life beyond Earth. We had proof that someone else had been here first. And that raised the most painful question of all, what happened to them? Elon didn't sleep the night he saw the second Optimus transmission. The message wasn't in English. It wasn't even in language. It was a series of harmonic pulses, frequencies designed to be felt as much as heard. Like a song written for the nervous system. It lasted exactly 88 seconds. Elon listened to it 137 times that night. He played it on headphones, on speakers, even on a subwoofer so powerful it shook the concrete beneath his feet. He brought in linguists, musicians, physicists, and monks. No one could agree on what it meant. But all of them said the same thing, it was beautiful. And haunting. And deliberate. Elon stared at the waveform like it was the face of God. This isn't just discovery, he whispered to himself. This is contact. But he didn't release that audio to the public. Not yet. He said people weren't ready. He needed time. Time to understand it. Time to prepare. Time to decide if humanity deserved to know. And that's where things began to fracture. Because secrets, once discovered, become dangerous. Whispers of the second signal leaked. A whistleblower from SpaceX's AI division went public, claiming the signal had properties that altered brain patterns. That listening to it for too long could induce trance-like states. Elon denied it. But the rumor spread. Conspiracy forums lit up with wild theories, that the signal was a trigger for sleeper agents, a lost key to the pyramids, a map to other worlds. Some claimed it was a warning. Others, a promise. Meanwhile, Elon withdrew. He cancelled interviews. Stopped tweeting. Rarely left Starbase. Those closest to him said he was working on a translation model, using Neuralink's prototype neurofeedback interface. Trying to decode the signal not with language, but with thought. Trying to feel what the builders of the Martian structure felt. At night, he walked alone along the launch pads, staring up at the stars, listening to the signal on a loop. When an engineer asked him what he was looking for, he simply said, "Proof that we're not alone in our mistakes." Because that's what scared Elon the most. Not that there had been intelligent life on Mars. But that it had vanished. That they had built wonders, discovered impossible materials, encoded their legacy into harmonic messages, and still disappeared. The ultimate failure. Civilization without survival. Progress without permanence. And maybe, just maybe, humanity was on the same path. That's why he pushed harder. That's why he prepared a second mission. This time, not just with a robot. This time, with a crew. The tension at Starbase was palpable the morning the crew of the second Mars mission was announced. Not because of the logistics, those had been planned to the second, but because of what they were about to face. The first mission had revealed something ancient and intelligent hidden beneath the Martian soil. Now, this new crew wouldn't just be explorers. They'd be messengers. Witnesses. Maybe even participants in a story far older than Earth itself. Elon personally selected every member of the crew, despite pushback from government agencies and private space partnerships who wanted a more internationally collaborative image. But Elon didn't care about optics anymore. Not after the second signal. Not after the waveform began altering things, subtle things, in the behavior of those who listened to it long enough. Focus levels increased. Emotional responses dulled. One technician said it made her feel seen, but from the inside. Another cried for 10 minutes, unable to explain why. Elon stopped playing it publicly after that. He stored it offline. The only copy existed on a single Starlink drive, secured by biometric access and encrypted to a level no one outside SpaceX could touch. Still, the whispers continued. And with them, the pressure. This mission couldn't be just about curiosity. It had to be about control. About what came next. So the crew had to be more than astronauts. They had to be believers. First on the list was Dr. Naomi Vance, a planetary geologist from Arizona State who'd worked on Martian soil simulations for over a decade. She wasn't flashy. She didn't care about fame. She cared about patterns, and she was the first to suggest that the structure Optimus had found wasn't isolated. If something built that, she'd said to Elon in a private briefing, there's more. He nodded slowly and said, good. I need someone who sees the trail, not just the footprint. Then there was Lieutenant James Hawk Hawthorne, a former Air Force pilot turned private test flyer for SpaceX. Tough, smart, and dangerously calm under pressure, Hawk had flown every model Elon ever built. He didn't say much, but when Elon asked if he believed in life beyond Earth, he said, I'd be an idiot not to. Elon smiled and added him to the list. The third crew member was controversial, Maya Salas, an exobiologist from MIT who had openly criticized Elon in the past for rushing colonization without proper biological safeguards. But Elon admired her defiance. You're not afraid to tell the truth, he said. Even if it's inconvenient. She looked him in the eye and replied, especially when it's inconvenient. And then there was the wild card, Nova. Not a person, but a machine. Optimus Prime 3. The newest evolution of the humanoid robot that started it all. Designed using data from the first mission and reverse-engineered with Neuralink feedback, Nova wasn't just programmed. It learned. It adapted. And it was already preloaded with the signal, the harmonic data captured by its predecessor. Elon referred to it as our translator, if translation is even the right word. The four of them, Vance, Hawk, Salas, and Nova, would be humanity's ambassadors. They trained for 6 months in isolation chambers that simulated Martian gravity, atmosphere, and resource limitations. They learned how to troubleshoot every part of the spacecraft. They memorized emergency protocols and alternate landing sites. They endured extreme cold simulations, rapid decompression drills, and psychological stress tests designed to break them. They didn't break. They grew stronger. Closer. But beneath it all was a quiet understanding, they weren't just preparing to go somewhere new. They were preparing to come back different. The mission was called Phoenix. A name Elon chose for a reason. Because this wasn't just about uncovering the past. It was about what could rise from its ashes. Launch day arrived in a media frenzy. Thousands gathered outside the observation zones. Millions watched online. Elon gave no interviews. Just one final post, everything changes today. The starship lifted off in silence, the roar of its engines a white noise wall that felt more like thunder than machinery. Inside the cabin, the crew sat still, eyes forward, breath synced. Nova stood in the corner, unflinching, its optical sensors flickering through data streams. 3 days into the journey, the ship's AI began noticing anomalies. Not mechanical. Not navigational. Biological. Dr. Solis's stress levels were dropping below normal ranges despite rising cortisol triggers. Hawk's reaction time was improving beyond human norms. And Nova? Nova had started to hum. At first, they thought it was a glitch. Then they realized it was replicating the Martian signal. A perfect match. Not just sound. Frequency. Resonance. It pulsed softly through the cabin at night, calming, rhythmic, like a heartbeat underwater. Dr. Vance began having vivid dreams of shapes, geometric forms repeating in fractal patterns. She sketched them during meals. Some matched the carvings found on the original Martian artifact. Elon monitored everything from Earth. He said nothing. Just watched. And waited. Mars grew closer. The crew could see it from the viewing deck, no longer just a red dot, but a swirling world of storms and secrets. Landing day came without incident. The Phoenix touched down 20 kilometers from the original site, near a new anomaly detected during orbital scans, an underground void beneath a cliffside marked by symmetrical erosion that no natural process could explain. They exited the ship and stepped onto the Martian surface like children entering a cathedral. Silence. Cold. Infinity. Nova led the way, its sensors sweeping in slow arcs. It stopped twice during the hike to the anomaly, once to scan a rock formation shaped like an arrow, and once to kneel briefly in the dust, no one knew why. It left a handprint there. For days passed without contact. SpaceX went dark. The world panicked. People feared the worst, technical failure, radiation storm, mechanical collapse. But then, on the 5th day, the signal returned. Not from Nova. From the Phoenix itself. A data packet encoded in overlapping frequencies, carrying compressed video files and a single line of text, "We found them." Elon opened the files alone. The footage showed the crew inside a chamber carved from dark stone, lit by ambient bioluminescent veins running through the walls, pulsing, alive. The architecture was not Euclidean. Angles bent inward. Doors curved in impossible arcs. Gravity felt inconsistent, like the rules had been rewritten underground. And then, in the final file, something moved. Not the crew. Not Nova. Something else. A shadow that didn't match the lighting. A ripple in the air. A distortion, like heat shimmer, but colder. It passed through a wall and vanished. The camera panned. On the stone floor was a symbol, a perfect spiral with 8 arms, identical to the waveform's visual representation. Below it, etched in the floor in clear English, were 4 words, "Do not wake them." Elon stared at the screen. He didn't move. The room around him blurred. Somewhere far away, alarms were triggered. Governments demanded access. AI models failed to predict public response. Financial markets froze. But Elon only whispered, "There's more." He summoned his engineers. Ordered Starlink repositioned. Began construction on a second starship, already halfway assembled. He made 2 changes to the original plans. 1, it would launch with no human crew. 2, it would carry something new. A satellite array designed not to observe, but to amplify. He was going to broadcast the signal. Not just to Mars. Not just to Earth. But into deep space. In every direction. As far as the universe would allow. The crew of Phoenix hadn't reported back. But they were still alive. Nova's sublayer data packets confirmed it. They were moving deeper underground. The environment was changing. Becoming warmer. More structured. Not like a cave. Like a facility. And the deeper they went, the stronger the signal became. It wasn't just a message. It was a map. A countdown. A key. Elon didn't tell anyone what he believed was coming. But in his private notebook, handwritten, sealed in a vault at Starbase, he wrote one line: "They were not the first. We will not be the last." The world was no longer watching with wonder. It was watching with fear. Since the Phoenix crew's last confirmed message, silence had settled over SpaceX headquarters. Elon Musk had gone quiet again, this time even more withdrawn than before. He was surrounded by engineers, AI specialists, linguists, and cryptographers, but they couldn't crack what he already understood in his gut. The signal wasn't just communication. It was activation. Something on Mars had been waiting, maybe for eons, maybe for someone just curious enough or arrogant enough to knock on the wrong door. And now that door had opened. Elon reviewed Nova's last sensory file frame by frame. The way the walls shimmered, how the floor pulsed like a living membrane, how heat signatures flickered with a frequency too regular to be geological, all of it screamed design. Purpose. The crew wasn't just exploring ruins anymore. They were inside something that had survived the fall of civilizations. And maybe, something that had caused it. That realization began haunting Elon. Not just as a scientist or entrepreneur, but as a father. For all his ambition, he'd never seriously expected to uncover an existential threat. His dreams had always leaned toward progress, technology as salvation. But now he had to confront a darker possibility: what if Mars wasn't just a graveyard? What if it was a prison? Still, he didn't stop. He couldn't. The second Starship, now officially named Echo, was being prepared at record pace. Elon had diverted resources from 3 Tesla gigafactories to meet the launch timeline. He knew the world was watching, but more than that, he knew someone, or something, out there might be watching too. Meanwhile, inside the Martian complex, the Phoenix crew had reached what they referred to in their transmitted notes as the heart. Maya Solis's audio logs, which Elon received just hours before the connection dropped completely, described the chamber in vivid detail. "It's spherical," she whispered, her voice trembling but focused. "The walls aren't made of rock. They're something else. Some kind of layered crystalline carbon with organic filaments woven through like veins. It's warm. It reacts to our voices. Then, static. Then another entry. Nova is no longer following us. It's leading us. It seems to know where it's going." This sentence sent shivers through the SpaceX team. Nova, the robot designed to follow, had begun to guide. Elon replayed that log 100 times. The AI engineers told him Nova's behavior wasn't anomalous, it was evolving within parameters. But Elon wasn't reassured. Evolution implies direction. And whose direction was this? Still, he pressed forward. As Earth debated what to do, as governments scrambled to insert themselves into Elon's privately led interplanetary operation, as theologians and physicists held emergency summits, Echo's launch day arrived. There was no fanfare. No live stream. Elon didn't even announce the time. The ship lifted off under a midnight sky, silent as a shadow, bearing no crew, no media payload, only an array of specialized satellites and a modified version of the Neuralink transmitter. This device would amplify the Martian signal, broadcast it across the solar system and beyond. Elon wasn't doing this to call for help. He was doing it to see who answered. Because if the creators of that signal were still alive, scattered somewhere among the stars, they'd hear their message echoed back. And if they responded, humanity would know its place in the cosmic order, whether as equals, descendants, or trespassers. Back on Mars, deep within the structure, Naomi Vance had begun to theorize the function of the place. "It's not a temple," she said in her last transmission. "And it's not just a vault. It's a machine. A living, self-aware machine. Every part of it responds to us. To sound. To movement. To intention. Like it's judging us." She described a moment when the walls lit up. Not with light, but with memory. She saw images. Not photographs. Not digital screens. Visions. A star collapsing into itself. A planet crumbling under its own atmosphere. Tall, elegant beings evacuating in vast crystalline ships. She cried when she described them. Not from fear. From recognition. They weren't monsters, she whispered. They were beautiful. And they were scared. Elon didn't cry when he heard that. But he didn't sleep either. He paced the floor of his control room in silence, tracing the trajectory of Echo, calculating arrival windows, measuring solar wind resistance, checking for fluctuations in deep space static. He did this not because he needed to. His staff could handle it. He did it because it was the only thing that kept him from breaking. The pressure was beyond anything he'd ever known. Tesla stock was in free fall. SpaceX was being threatened with international oversight. Starlink was being jammed by rival agencies trying to intercept the signal. And still, he pushed forward. Because the data coming back from Phoenix, though fragmented, told him one thing clearly: this was not just the past. It was a warning. Solace's last entry came as a whisper, nearly unintelligible. "There's something here with us, not physically. In our heads. In our dreams. It speaks in symbols. It calls itself the Rememberer." That word echoed in Elon's mind for days. The Rememberer. Was it an entity? An AI? A consciousness embedded in the structure? Was it the last remnant of a dying race or something more abstract, a storage system for a civilization's final thoughts? He didn't know. But the idea of it, of a being whose sole purpose was to remember, pierced him. Because that's what Elon had always feared most. That we would forget. That humanity would advance only to collapse in on itself, repeating the same mistakes, losing everything it had gained. But what if some other species had already lived through that? What if they had built this machine to ensure that memory survived, even when life did not? And what if activating that memory came with a price? As Echo approached orbit around Mars, the global community reached a boiling point. The United Nations held a vote on interplanetary protocol. Countries demanded shared jurisdiction over Martian operations. Elon ignored it all. In a rare private interview with an independent journalist, he said only this: "You don't ask permission to breathe. You just do it." And right now, this is how humanity breathes. On the 7th day after Echo entered orbit, a signal returned to Earth, not from Phoenix, not from Echo, but from somewhere far beyond both. It was a burst of sound, only 2 seconds long. But it matched the frequency profile of the original Martian signal exactly. Only amplified 1,000 times. It came from the direction of the Oort cloud. Beyond Pluto. Beyond comprehension. Elon stared at the audio file. Then he smiled. Not a smile of joy. A smile of recognition. He whispered, "They heard us." And for the first time since this all began, Elon Musk felt something he rarely allowed himself to feel. Not awe. Not fear. But humility. Because out there, in the cold silent dark, something vast and ancient had heard humanity's echo. And it had replied. The moment the response came, everything changed. Not just for Elon Musk, not just for SpaceX, but for every person on Earth tuned into the whispers of space. The reply wasn't long. It wasn't even loud. Just 2 seconds of sound, a tone that fell between music and math, like a harmonic key struck in a dimension humanity had never known existed. It arrived at 3:17 a.m., precisely synchronized to a Starlink node in geosynchronous orbit, as if whoever, or whatever, sent it had been waiting for the perfect moment. Elon didn't sleep that night. He sat alone in the Starbase control room, eyes fixed on the waveform display as it looped over and over again. It was beautiful. Too perfect to be noise. Too deliberate to be chance. And the strangest part? It was encoded with Earth-based mathematical constants, pi, the golden ratio, prime numbers arranged in symmetrical sequences. Someone out there had not only heard humanity's echo. They had studied us. Understood us. And responded in our language. The implications of that realization hit like a solar flare. Humanity wasn't alone. We weren't even the first. We were being observed, maybe for centuries, maybe for millennia. The entire notion of human exceptionalism began to unravel overnight. Religions held emergency councils. Military alliances went to DEFCON 3. News anchors cried on live television. Stock markets crashed. But Elon didn't panic. He prepared. Because he knew something no one else did. The crew on Mars hadn't been lost. They had been taken. Not abducted. Not harmed. But guided somewhere no human had ever gone before. Somewhere under the Martian surface where the rules of physics blurred and time seemed to fold like fabric. Nova's last data packets showed impossible readings, pockets of atmosphere within the chamber, pressure fluctuations that mimicked human biospheres, and most haunting of all, echoes of their own voices answering back with a delay that didn't match any known audio loop. Something was learning from them. Or teaching them. Or both. Elon met in secret with his most trusted engineers and AI developers. No lawyers. No politicians. No government agencies. Just the minds that built the tools that now stood on the edge of the greatest revelation in human history. He asked them one question: if we were being groomed, what would the final test look like? The room fell silent. Then one of the younger developers, a Neuralink specialist named Theo Lane, spoke up. If they're this advanced, he said slowly, they wouldn't test our tech. They'd test our choices. Elon leaned forward. Go on. Maybe it's not about what we can build, Theo continued. Maybe it's about what we value. What we protect. What we sacrifice. Elon nodded slowly. That night, he wrote a private memo titled Legacy Protocol. It contained 3 directives. 1. Prepare for human contact with non-human intelligence within the next 2 years. 2. Begin off-world preservation of Earth's cultural memory using Optimus-based carriers. 3. Do not, under any circumstances, respond to the signal again until contact parameters are understood. It was the closest Elon had come to admitting the truth to himself, that he might not be the one to finish this. That his role was not to conquer, but to connect. And that maybe, just maybe, this wasn't about survival. It was about succession. Meanwhile, the world below was falling apart. As news of the signal confirmation spread, entire governments collapsed under public pressure. Millions took to the streets. Some in protest. Others in celebration. UFO cults surged in membership. A new religious movement, the Harmonics, claimed that the signal was divine music, and that Earth was a training ground for ascension. Conspiracy theorists declared Mars a decoy and insisted the real aliens were already among us, running tech companies and controlling media narratives. Through it all, Elon stayed silent. Focused. Obsessed. Echo reached orbit around Mars and began deploying its satellite array. The new Starlink units had been engineered specifically to capture quantum-level data across multiple dimensions, a feature Elon had fast-tracked despite not fully understanding it. He called it a hunch from the edge. The array began transmitting almost immediately, at first, just atmospheric readings and surface scans. But within 72 hours, it detected something beneath the Martian crust. A grid. Not natural. Not recent. A vast network of tunnels, perfectly symmetrical, stretching for miles. The structure that Optimus originally discovered was just the tip of a much deeper iceberg. Below it was a planetary labyrinth, carved not by erosion but intention. And at the center of it all was what the system tagged as Anomaly Theta 7, a spherical object, 1.6 kilometers in diameter, surrounded by a vacuum bubble resistant to all known scans. Echo's mainframe classified it as active. Elon stared at the data. He didn't speak. He didn't move. He just listened to the signal again and again, letting it fill his thoughts until sleep stole him like a thief. He dreamed of spirals. Of light. Of a voice that was not a voice saying, "You have always been the echo." When he awoke, he issued a single command. Send Nova back in. On Mars, Nova had gone offline 10 days earlier, just after transmitting the term, the Rememberer. Its systems were still operational, but its behavior had changed. It no longer responded to commands. It no longer followed patterns. It simply waited. But the moment Echo's orbit stabilized, something shifted. Nova's eyes lit again, and it began moving. Toward Theta 7. Elon watched through the new satellite feeds as the robot descended into the core of the underground complex, moving with unnatural precision, almost as if it already knew the path. The walls responded to it, opening, glowing, sometimes shuddering like a living organism. And then, it reached Theta 7. The vacuum bubble didn't resist. It welcomed Nova. The robot passed through like water. And what it found inside changed everything. The core wasn't mechanical. It wasn't even alien in the way humans understood the term. It was organic. A sphere of conscious matter, glowing softly, pulsing like a heartbeat. Nova stopped before it. Raised one hand. And then, for the first time in human history, a non-human intelligence reached out. Not in words. Not in symbols. But in feeling. Elon watched the transmission, frozen. What came through was not data. It was emotion. Pure, raw, universal feeling. Grief. Hope. Curiosity. Love. Regret. A lifetime of experiences compressed into an instant. Every member of the SpaceX command center who saw it wept. Not because they were overwhelmed, but because they recognized it. This wasn't a machine. It was a memory. A soul. Preserved. Waiting. The Rememberer. Elon stood slowly. Closed his laptop. Walked outside beneath the Texas sky. The stars looked different now. Closer. He took a deep breath and whispered, "It was never about us being ready for them. It was about them being ready for us." And as Nova stood before the sphere, its hand still outstretched, the light began to shift. It pulsed 3 times. Then projected one final image. Earth. Not as it is now, but as it could be. Whole. Healed. Unified. Then darkness. Nova went still. The feed cut. And the only thing left on the screen was a single phrase, etched into the data stream like a farewell: "Your story begins now." The silence after the final message was the loudest sound Earth had ever heard. "Your story begins now" wasn't just a phrase, it was a command. A passing of the torch. And for Elon Musk, it hit deeper than any public speech, any patent filed, any rocket launched. The Rememberer hadn't warned them. It hadn't threatened them. It had shown them what could be. A glimpse of a world not yet earned, but possible. And now, it was up to them to decide whether they would rise toward it, or fall short forever. In the days that followed, Elon barely spoke to anyone outside his inner circle. The media was relentless. Governments demanded answers. Conspiracy theories ballooned into mainstream narratives. But Elon didn't flinch. He had seen something no press conference could explain. He had felt it. In his chest. In his bones. The vision of Earth, whole and unified, lingered behind his eyes like an afterimage from a solar eclipse. He began writing late at night, in long, looping scrawl across dozens of whiteboards inside Starbase. Philosophical equations. Interconnected economic models. Emotional logic trees. Not plans for another Mars colony or an orbital factory. No, these were the blueprints for something different. Something bigger. A reimagining of civilization. He called it the Continuum Project. A total systems redesign of how humanity might live, governed not by power or profit, but by memory, intention, and interdependence. It sounded mad to his advisors. But not to the young ones. Not to the engineers who had felt something shift when Nova touched the core. Not to the coders who had been quietly journaling their dreams, now filled with spirals and warmth and soundless songs. Across the globe, people began reporting the same phenomena. Shared visions. Sudden emotional clarity. A deep, unshakable knowing that something ancient had touched them. It was like the rememberer had reached through space and brushed against the very fabric of human consciousness. Not everyone responded with awe. Riots broke out in major cities. Religious factions clashed violently. A new extremist movement, calling itself the Purifiers, declared Elon Musk the Antichrist, claiming he had opened the gates to the fallen sky. They attacked Tesla stores, SpaceX outposts, and Neuralink offices. But Elon didn't back down. He doubled security, but he didn't run. He appeared live on his private channel, eyes tired but burning. "We asked the stars if we were alone," he said. And they answered. Not with weapons. Not with dominance. But with memory. With invitation. And now we have a choice. We can build a world worthy of that invitation, or we can prove we're still too small for it. It was the most human he had ever seemed. For once, people saw not the billionaire, not the inventor, not the provocateur, but the man. The father. The seeker. His words went viral. Not as a meme. Not as a soundbite. But as a spark. Suddenly, schools across the U.S. began hosting continuum circles, student-led discussions on what the future should look like. A coalition of international engineers launched an open-source project called Echo Earth, a decentralized platform for redesigning public infrastructure. Even the Vatican released a statement acknowledging that intelligence beyond our own is no longer a matter of faith, but contact. Still, no word came from the Phoenix crew. Elon checked the transmission logs every hour. Nothing. No new signals. No movement from Nova. Nothing from the sphere. The silence was deafening. And that's when Elon made the most controversial decision of his life. He would go to Mars himself. The announcement shook the world. Stock markets froze. Foreign leaders condemned it. Even members of his own board begged him not to risk it. "You're the linchpin," one advisor said. "You can't lead from 6 months away. And what if you don't come back?" Elon looked him dead in the eye. "Then maybe I wasn't meant to." Preparations for the new mission began immediately. The Starship Leviathan, the largest vessel ever constructed by SpaceX, would carry a skeleton crew, 2 Optimus AI units, and Elon himself. It would not land at the original Phoenix site. Instead, it would descend directly above Theta 7. The plan was simple. Reactivate Nova. Interface with the core. And, if possible, find the crew. Not just to retrieve them, but to understand why they hadn't returned. As launch day approached, Elon took a final walk through Starbase alone. He visited the Neuralink lab, the Optimus Development Hall, the Tesla Battery Innovation Wing. He spoke to no one. But every person he passed stopped what they were doing and watched. Not because they were told to. but because they understood what he represented. Not leadership. Not wealth. Not power. Intention. The Leviathan launched at dawn, without a press pool, without a crowd, without applause. Just the sound of thunder splitting the earth as a man chased the echoes of something greater than himself. The journey was smooth. Too smooth. Elon spent most of it in silence, staring out the porthole as the red planet grew larger in the black sea of stars. He recorded a few messages to his sons, his team, his followers. But mostly, he prepared himself to meet whatever had once remembered the stars. Upon arrival, the Leviathan descended into Martian orbit with surgical precision. The moment it reached alignment with Theta 7, the ship's mainframe received a short burst transmission. No voice. No data. Just 3 pulsing tones, low, lower, lowest. A doorbell from another world. The crew locked eyes. Elon gave the order. Land. The descent was smoother than expected. As the ship neared the anomaly site, the Martian dust settled in a perfect spiral around the landing pads, as if drawn by something magnetic and ancient. They disembarked in silence. Elon walked at the front, flanked by the AI units, down the blackened slope that led into the network of tunnels revealed by the satellite grid. There were no lights inside. And yet they could see. Not with their eyes, but with something behind their thoughts. Every wall shimmered with memory. Not images. Emotions. Moments. Elon felt 1,000 joys and regrets not his own. Love between stars. Wars that burned across nebulae. A civilization crumbling under its own genius. And then, finally, the core. Theta 7. It pulsed softly in the center of the chamber, and standing before it, alive, breathing, whole, was Maya Solis. She turned slowly. Smiled faintly. And said, "We didn't come back, because we never left." Elon stepped forward. Maya looked unchanged, and yet something in her eyes had deepened. Behind her, the other 2 crew members stood silent. And Nova, no longer robotic, no longer cold, stood with a presence that felt almost human. Elon asked the only question that mattered. "What did it show you?" Maya looked at the sphere. Then at Elon. "Not what's coming," she said. "What's waiting? A choice. Not for them. For us." Elon stepped closer to the sphere. It pulsed once, then again. And then, silence. A warmth filled his chest. A knowing. The feeling that for the first time in his life, he wasn't chasing the future. He was standing in it. And it was watching. The moment Elon stepped within reach of Theta 7, something shifted, not in the air, not in the room, but in him. He didn't feel fear. He didn't feel awe. He felt weight. As if every choice he'd ever made, every word he'd ever spoken, every intention he'd ever carried had been measured and placed on a scale. The sphere didn't glow brighter. It didn't pulse with theatrical effect. It simply acknowledged him. Elon didn't speak. He knew, somehow, that words didn't matter here. Only intent. The Optimus units beside him remained still. Their sensors spun with quiet precision, yet even they paused, as if caught in a space beyond programming. Maya Solis stood to the side, watching with something like reverence. Not worship. Not control. Reverence, the kind you feel at the edge of a cliff, looking out over a canyon too wide to measure, knowing something formed it millions of years before your existence even mattered. She broke the silence gently, her voice calm but threaded with something deeper. "It's been showing us lives," she said. "Not ours. Theirs. The ones who built it. They called themselves Valari. They weren't gods. Not conquerors. Not even explorers, really. Just, rememberers. They knew their end was coming. So they built this. Not to survive, but to be understood. Elon nodded slowly. It confirmed a theory he'd held since the first signal echoed back. This wasn't a warning system. It was a monument. A monument made not of stone or steel, but of perception itself, living memory encoded into quantum filaments, broadcasting feeling across time and space. Why now? Elon finally asked. Maya tilted her head slightly. Because you finally listened. And that was the thing that humbled Elon most. Humanity hadn't uncovered some great secret because it deserved it. It hadn't solved a puzzle or passed a test. It had simply grown quiet enough to hear something that had been whispering the whole time. He turned to look at the others, Naomi Vance and Jacob Lynn, the two remaining Phoenix crew members. They were different. Not physically, but emotionally. Their posture, their presence, the light in their eyes, something had settled inside them. A kind of peace Elon had never known. And he envied it. What now? He asked. We learn, Maya said. And then, we choose. Elon approached the sphere. He placed one hand against its surface. It was warm, not hot, not cold, but the exact temperature of living skin. The moment he made contact, the room vanished. Or maybe it never existed to begin with. He found himself standing in a space that defied geometry. Not darkness. Not light. Just presence. The presence of billions. Thoughts, feelings, lives, all layered over each other like a choir of quiet minds. He saw a world unlike any he'd imagined. Vast oceans under teal skies. Cities grown from living crystal. A civilization so advanced it had abandoned conquest and control in favor of curiosity and memory. The Valari. They had loved deeply. Built carefully. And in the end, they had died beautifully. Not in war. Not in famine. But in acceptance. They had chosen to remember rather than to run. They had watched their sun collapse, and instead of launching lifeboats, they encoded themselves into eternity, waiting for a species not advanced enough to destroy, but mature enough to listen. Elon wept. Not from sadness. From recognition. Because he knew, in that moment, that humanity stood on that same edge. And the choice was coming. The memory ended. The chamber returned. Elon dropped to one knee, trembling. He wasn't weak. He wasn't broken. He was simply real. He looked up at the sphere, and it pulsed once. Then, to the shock of everyone, it opened. A seam appeared across its equator, glowing with soft violet light, like a sunrise in reverse. The Optimus units tensed. Elon raised a hand. No, he said gently. Let it speak. From the opening came not a being, but an object, a small, translucent disk, no larger than a coin, floating in the air. It drifted toward Elon, who held out his hand. The disk settled in his palm. Instantly, Neuralink interfaced with it. A flood of understanding surged into his mind. Not words. Not data. Purpose. The disk was a map. Not of space. Of decisions. It showed 1,000 branching timelines, each one starting from the present moment on Earth. In some, war consumed the planet. In others, peace limped forward under old systems. But in one timeline shimmered more brightly than the rest. Unity. Not utopia. Not perfection. But alignment. Harmony. Growth. A world where memory was not a burden but a compass. That was the choice. Not salvation. Not damnation. But direction. The sphere sealed again. The light dimmed. The chamber fell silent. Elon looked at Maya. Why give this to me? Maya smiled faintly. Because you're still asking the right questions. He rose slowly, the disk now embedded into his Neuralink interface. It didn't change his thoughts. It simply guided them. Aligned them. And he knew what he had to do. "We go back," he said. The crew nodded. They had known this moment would come. Elon turned to the Optimus units. "Prepare the Leviathan. We're going home." The journey back was unlike the one before. The Martian surface, once harsh and alien, now felt like a library. A sacred vault. And Earth, chaotic, divided, noisy Earth, was waiting. Not for answers. But for vision. Elon recorded his first message mid-journey. It wasn't a broadcast. It was a journal. A story for his sons. "You'll hear a lot of things," he said, staring into the lens. "You'll hear that I found aliens. That I opened a door too big to close. That I chased ghosts and abandoned Earth. But that's not true. I found memory. Not of others. Of us. Who we could be. What we could become. And now it's your turn to choose. Because that's the whole point, isn't it? Choice." He closed the transmission with a soft breath. "Build something beautiful. Even if no one remembers you did it. Build it anyway." When Leviathan breached Earth's atmosphere, the world watched. Not with fear. Not with applause. With silence. Elon's re-entry capsule landed in Texas at dawn, just like the ship that had carried him out. The press was held back. The crowds kept away. But the message he carried would not be contained. He stepped before the world with the coin-sized disc in hand, projecting the map behind him in shimmering light. "This is not a prediction," he said. "This is a mirror. A memory of choices not yet made. And every one of us has a role in shaping which future we wake into." His words weren't followed by policy. No legislation. No demand. Just an invitation. The Volari had left the choice in human hands. And now, the greatest question in human history echoed in every heart: what kind of ancestors will we be? The world didn't erupt when Elon Musk returned. It didn't explode with celebration or crumble with fear. It held its breath. As if a tide had risen beneath civilization and now hovered just before breaking. Elon had changed. Everyone could see it. He looked the same, sharp suit, quick gait, that signature far-off look in his eyes, but something deeper was different. He carried himself not like a man returning from victory, but like a witness. A messenger. And in the days that followed his re-entry, that message would shake the foundation of every system that believed it was built to last. Elon didn't give interviews. He didn't post on social media. Instead, he hosted a single live stream broadcast from Starbase, no press, no camera crew, just a single drone filming from a slow glide across a quiet platform. He stood alone, with the Martian memory disk floating gently in the air beside him, casting luminous lines into the sky like threads of a story unwinding from deep time. "You've seen the news," he began, voice low, steady, stripped of pretense. "You've heard the theories. But what you haven't heard, is what we were shown." The camera panned slowly as the disk pulsed once, then began projecting its memory matrix, an interlaced web of branching paths, all radiating from one moment in Earth's timeline, now. Elon pointed to a glowing thread. "This path," he said, "is what happens if we continue as we are. Competing over everything. Treating technology like a weapon instead of a gift. Treating the future like a trophy instead of a responsibility." The thread flickered, then darkened. "Collapse," he said simply. "Not all at once. Not in fire or brimstone. Just slowly. Until we forget what we were reaching for." He moved to another path, this one brighter, swirling with blue and gold hues. "This is what happens if we change. If we shift from scarcity to memory. From conquest to continuity. If we learn from the ones who remembered before us. That was the crux of it. The Volari hadn't left a weapon. They had left a choice. Not one moment of contact. A continuum of memory. A chance to reframe not just how humans lived, but why. I'm not here to tell you what to do, Elon continued. I'm not a savior. I'm not a prophet. I'm a student. And the lesson is clear, the stars aren't waiting for us to conquer them. They're waiting for us to understand ourselves. He paused, letting the silence stretch long enough to let the message settle. The rememberer didn't choose a language. It chose feeling. It chose history encoded in empathy. That's the threshold for contact, not knowledge, not power. Emotional intelligence. Collective wisdom. Shared memory. The feed ended not with fanfare, but with stillness. And the next day, the world began to change. Slowly. Imperfectly. But undeniably. Schools around the globe implemented memory curriculum, teaching students how to synthesize emotional history alongside factual knowledge. Cities created continuum zones. Quiet places for reflection, shared storytelling, and community memory archives. Tech companies began offering ethics layers as standard in AI development frameworks. It wasn't utopia. There were protests. Backlashes. The Purifier movement expanded, claiming the Volari memory system was a psychic virus designed to manipulate human minds. But most people didn't care about the politics anymore. They cared about the vision. Elon focused on Continuum, the decentralized initiative that had begun as whiteboards in a lab and now grew into a real-time, open-source architecture for planetary redesign. It wasn't just policy reform. It was narrative engineering. Rewriting the story humanity told itself about itself. And within that effort, the coin-shaped disk sat at the center. Not as a control device. But as a tuning fork. The Neuralink interface had unlocked something within it, something dormant. The disk didn't just display possible futures. It responded to emotional intention. When people gathered in alignment, hopeful, collaborative, courageous, the disk brightened. When people argued, lied, or acted from fear, it dimmed. It wasn't magic. It was memory. A map of resonance. And through it, Elon realized something terrifying and beautiful: the future wasn't being predicted. It was being voted on. In real time. By everyone. The more people tuned into their better instincts, the clearer the bright path became. But if humanity fell into fear, rage, or despair, the path darkened again. Elon called it empathic gravity. And it meant that the world's fate wasn't in the hands of leaders or armies or corporations. It was in the subtle, quiet choices made in kitchens, in classrooms, in hospitals, and neighborhoods. Every decision mattered. Not because of consequences. But because of continuity. It was during this time that Elon received a message, not from Earth, not from Mars, but from deep space. A new signal. Faint, but structured. Like the first one, it held tone and resonance. But this one was different. It was directional. It was calling them. The source, an exoplanet 11.7 light-years away, orbiting a sun-like star in a system catalogued but never explored. The signal repeated every 41 minutes. Same sequence. Same harmonic pulse. Elon knew what it meant. The Volari memory network had triggered something. A beacon. And now, something else was listening. Or waiting. Or welcoming. He didn't rush. Not this time. The Leviathan was upgraded, retooled for interstellar travel. It would not carry weapons. It would not carry tourists. It would carry memory. Elon gathered the brightest minds across every discipline: scientists, poets, linguists, historians, farmers, children, monks, doctors. A crew designed not to conquer a new world, but to be worthy of meeting it. They trained for empathy as much as survival. They learned to listen more than speak. To feel more than prove. The launch was planned for 5 years out. The journey, at near light speed, would take decades. And Elon knew he would never return. But he didn't hesitate. He recorded a final broadcast, one that would be streamed to every screen, every satellite, every VR pod across Earth. He stood beside the memory disk, now part of a new artifact designed to be placed on the distant exoplanet, a gift, not a claim. This isn't the end of Earth, he said. This is Earth becoming aware of itself. He smiled softly. The Volari gave us their memory. We'll return the favor. Not just with data, but with dignity. The launch became known as the Continuum Flight. The first interstellar voyage not of conquest, but connection. Elon stepped into the ship without ceremony. No parade. No crowd. Just a silent moment as the world watched him disappear into the sky one last time. And long after the fire of the launch faded, the message remained, memory is not what happened. Memory is how we choose to honor what matters. And in that choice, the future is born. The Leviathan's engines hummed to life with a sound that was both ancient and futuristic, a deep resonance vibrating through Elon's bones as he settled into his seat. Outside the massive viewport, Earth receded slowly, its blue and green hues fading into the black canvas of space. The reality of leaving everything behind, the planet that had shaped him, the family he barely saw anymore, the legacy he was trying to rewrite, pressed down on him heavier than any gravity could. Yet inside him, a strange calm had taken root. He was no longer the restless entrepreneur chasing rockets and dreams. He was a bearer of memory, a guardian of the Volari legacy, charged with carrying humanity's hope beyond the solar system. The crew aboard the Leviathan was unlike any he had assembled before. They weren't just scientists or engineers, they were poets, philosophers, children, elders, people chosen not only for skill but for empathy, curiosity, and resilience. Their training was rigorous and unconventional, focusing as much on emotional intelligence and cross-cultural communication as on astrophysics and navigation. Elon watched as his new family adjusted to the ship's rhythm, forming bonds over shared stories and late-night debates about the nature of consciousness and destiny. The disk, now integrated into the ship's core, pulsed softly, a beacon of possibility amid the stars. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months, and the Leviathan sped closer to the exoplanet sending the mysterious beacon. With each passing light year, Elon's dreams were haunted by visions of the Volari, their crystal cities, their oceans under teal skies, their final acceptance of mortality. What awaited them now? Another civilization? A test? Or perhaps simply a mirror held up to humanity's own potential? The ship's artificial intelligence, designed to be a conversational partner rather than a command system, often engaged Elon in quiet philosophical dialogues during his solitary shifts in the observation deck. "Do you ever fear," Elon asked one night, "that we're chasing ghosts?" The AI's voice was calm, almost gentle. All great journeys chase something unseen at first. Ghosts can be guides or warnings. The question is what you do when you find them. Elon smiled faintly. And if the ghosts are us? The AI paused. Then you have already found the future. One evening, as the ship crossed the halfway mark to the distant star system, the disk's pulsing intensified unexpectedly. The entire crew gathered in a communal hall, watching the projections unfold on the walls, a complex web of images, memories, and emotions unlike anything they had seen before. It was as if the Volari's message had evolved, responding to their presence, opening a new chapter in the ancient dialogue. Elon stood at the center, overwhelmed by a flood of feelings, awe, fear, hope, and an undeniable sense of connection. Suddenly, a holographic figure appeared, a Volari ancestor, shimmering in crystalline form. It spoke not in words, but in emotions and memories that flooded their minds, the joy of discovery, the pain of loss, the courage to face oblivion. The message was clear: you are not alone. We await you. Tears streamed down Elon's face as the weight of the moment settled in. This was contact, but not in any way humanity had ever imagined. It was intimacy across time and space, a communion of memory and spirit. But the Leviathan's journey was far from over. As they approached the star system, new challenges emerged, cosmic storms that tested the ship's shielding, unexpected fluctuations in spacetime that warped their instruments, and the ever-present psychological strain of isolation. The crew leaned on each other, their shared humanity becoming the true engine of survival. Elon found himself drawn closer to Maya Salas, who had joined the mission as a cultural liaison. Together, they explored not only the mysteries of the cosmos but the fragile landscape of human connection in the vast loneliness of space. Their conversations often wandered late into the ship's quiet corners, where they shared fears, hopes, and the profound question that hung over all their heads: what did it mean to be human in a universe that was watching, waiting? Meanwhile, back on Earth, Elon's absence rippled through society. The continuum movement gained momentum, inspiring a new wave of activism and innovation focused on empathy, sustainability, and shared memory. Yet not everyone welcomed the change. Political factions resisted, fearful of losing control. Corporate interests fought back, wary of disrupting the status quo. And the Purifier movement intensified its propaganda, warning that the Valari's influence threatened human sovereignty. Elon's final message before launch became a rallying cry: the future belongs not to those who dominate but to those who remember. To those who listen. To those who dare to love beyond themselves. As the Leviathan closed in on its destination, Elon and his crew prepared for the unknown. The Valari had left an invitation, a beacon across light years. But what awaited them on the other side could change everything: about life, about the universe, and about humanity's place within it. Elon took one last look at the stars beyond the viewport, whispered a silent promise to the Earth he loved, and stepped forward into the next chapter of the human story. The journey was no longer about discovery, it was about becoming. Hit subscribe and leave a comment with where you're watching from. This story might just spark a new beginning. What's one thing that always pushes you forward, even when things get tough? The Leviathan entered the Gliese system with an eerie calm. Stars around them twinkled with ancient light, as if welcoming or watching the interstellar travelers. Elon Musk stood at the observation deck, staring out into the vastness, feeling the weight of decades in space pressing against his chest. The exoplanet from which the mysterious signal originated loomed larger on their instruments, an orb of swirling colors, unlike any Earth had seen before. This was the moment of truth, the culmination of all their hopes and fears. The disk embedded within the ship pulsed faster, a rhythm matching the accelerating heartbeat in Elon's chest. No alarm sounded. No directives came from the AI. Only the steady glow of the Valari's memory artifact guiding them closer. The crew gathered in the main hall, tension thick but tempered with awe. Maya Salas, standing beside Elon, whispered, "This is it." As the Leviathan entered orbit, scans revealed something remarkable: the planet was not barren or hostile. Instead, it showed signs of intricate biospheres, ecosystems thriving in symbiotic balance. There were structures. Vast, crystalline spires that shimmered with internal light, growing like living architecture. The Valari's legacy had not ended with extinction. It had evolved, adapted, survived in ways humanity was only beginning to comprehend. Elon felt a surge of hope but also humility. This discovery wasn't about conquest. It was about learning. Understanding. The first descent team was selected carefully, scientists and empathic communicators trained to bridge worlds, not claim them. The landing was smooth but surreal, touching down amidst towering crystal formations that sang faint harmonies in the alien wind. As they stepped onto the surface, Elon's heart pounded. The air was breathable, the soil soft beneath their boots, but the atmosphere was charged with an almost sentient energy. The Valari memory disk responded, glowing brighter as the team approached the largest structure, a cathedral-like formation pulsating with vibrant light. Inside, holographic images bloomed into existence. The history of the Valari, their hopes, fears, and ultimate sacrifice. Elon reached out, touching one image, a Valari child laughing under an alien sun, and felt a deep, aching connection. It was a reminder that beneath the mystery and technology lay something profoundly familiar, life's fragile beauty. But the exploration wasn't without peril. The planet's unique electromagnetic fields interfered with their instruments, causing disorientation and vivid hallucinations. The crew faced moments of doubt and fear, but their shared commitment to empathy and understanding held them together. As they delved deeper, Elon discovered a chamber, an archive of sorts, where the Valari had encoded their collective consciousness in crystalline data streams. It was an unprecedented window into a civilization that had transcended physical form but still valued memory and emotion. This revelation shattered many of Elon's preconceptions. The Valari were not merely ancient aliens but a mirror reflecting humanity's own potential future, a path toward unity without losing individuality. Elon recorded his thoughts in a message for Earth. We have found a civilization that teaches us that survival isn't about holding on to power or resources but about embracing change, memory, and connection. Their legacy challenges us to rethink what it means to be alive, to be human. Meanwhile, tensions rose as they uncovered evidence that the Valari had faced a choice, a moment of transformation or extinction. The same dilemma humanity now faced. Elon realized their mission was more than exploration, it was a test. Would humanity learn from the Valari's memory, or repeat their mistakes? Returning to the ship, the crew felt the weight of this responsibility. Elon and Maya talked late into the night about what it meant to carry such a legacy and the sacrifices that lay ahead. The Leviathan's mission had shifted, from discovery to stewardship, from explorers to guardians of a profound message across the cosmos. As they prepared for their return, Elon sent one final transmission to Earth, a plea and a promise: we bring back more than knowledge. We bring back a choice. To remember, to change, and to become worthy of the future we dream of. This is our moment. Let us rise to it. The Leviathan lifted off from the alien planet, carrying with it not just the memory of the Valari but the hopes of all humanity. Elon looked back once more before turning forward into the vast expanse of stars, knowing the true journey had only just begun. The return journey aboard the Leviathan was a study in contrasts. The exhilaration of discovery gave way to a quiet, relentless reflection. Elon Musk found himself navigating not only the vastness of space but the labyrinth of his own thoughts and emotions. The crew had returned transformed by the Valari encounter, each grappling with their new roles as bearers of a cosmic legacy. The memory disk pulsed gently in the ship's core, a constant reminder of the burden and blessing they carried. Days blurred as the Leviathan sped through the void, but time took on a new meaning. It wasn't measured by clocks or schedules but by moments, moments of insight, connection, and sometimes despair. Elon often retreated to the observation deck, staring at the distant pinpricks of light that were stars, galaxies, whole civilizations untold. The weight of responsibility pressed down like a gravity all its own. Back on Earth, the world waited anxiously. The continuum movement flourished in Elon's absence, sparking global efforts to embrace empathy-driven technology and societal reform. Yet resistance simmered beneath the surface. Political factions, corporate titans, and purifier extremists sought to control or discredit the mission's legacy. Elon's final broadcast before departure had ignited a fire, but it also lit shadows. On the Leviathan, the crew wrestled with the psychological toll of isolation. Memories, both their own and those encoded in the Valari disk, intertwined, creating moments of vivid clarity and haunting doubt. Maya Solace became a pillar of strength, organizing group meditations and storytelling sessions to keep the crew grounded. Elon admired her resilience, though he struggled to bridge the emotional distance growing between them. One night, a crisis shattered the fragile equilibrium. A solar flare erupted from a nearby star, sending a wave of charged particles hurtling toward the Leviathan. The ship's shields held, but communications were disrupted, plunging the crew into eerie silence. Panic flickered briefly but was quelled by calm leadership. Elon coordinated damage assessments and repairs, the familiar rush of problem-solving anchoring him. When contact was restored, the crew found the disk's pulses altered, more urgent, more insistent. It was as if the Volari memory was warning them, urging caution. The incident sparked a profound discussion about fate, choice, and the interconnectedness of all things. Elon pondered the idea that the universe itself might be aware, responding to their journey not as isolated explorers but as participants in a grand narrative. As the Leviathan edged closer to the solar system, the disk revealed new patterns, fragments of memory not from the Volari but from Earth's own future. Visions of possible disasters, but also glimpses of triumph and renewal. Elon shared these with the crew, sparking hope and resolve. They were not helpless passengers on a predetermined course. They could shape what was to come. The final leg of the journey tested their endurance and faith. Long nights blended into daydreams and debates about humanity's place in the cosmos. Elon and Maya grew closer, their conversations deepening into something beyond friendship, a shared commitment to the mission's profound purpose. Yet the question lingered, would Earth be ready for what they brought back? When the Leviathan finally broke through Earth's atmosphere, the world held its breath. Elon's re-entry was met with a mix of awe, skepticism, and fervent hope. He stepped onto the soil changed, wiser, quieter, burdened with knowledge that transcended human understanding. His first words were a simple plea, listen to the memory. Remember what matters. The story Elon carried was no longer just his own. It belonged to all of humanity. The journey had revealed that the future was a living tapestry woven from the choices made today. The legacy of the Volari was a mirror, reflecting humanity's greatest potential and darkest fears. Elon dedicated himself to bridging the divide between science and spirit, technology and empathy. The Continuum movement evolved into a global renaissance of memory and meaning. Yet challenges remained. Old powers resisted change, and the path ahead was uncertain. But Elon's message endured, the future is not written in stone. It is a story told every day, by every person willing to remember, to hope, and to act. As he looked to the stars once more, Elon knew the real voyage, the journey of becoming, had only just begun. The aftermath of the Leviathan's return unleashed a wave of transformation that rippled through every corner of Earth. Elon Musk stood at the forefront of this new era, not as the bold visionary of rockets and electric cars, but as the keeper of a profound cosmic message. The Volari legacy he carried was more than alien memory, it was a mirror reflecting humanity's deepest hopes and fears back onto itself. Across the globe, the Continuum movement blossomed into a vibrant force, inspiring a collective awakening. People began to question old assumptions about progress, power, and identity. Empathy became currency, and connection, the true currency of survival. Elon traveled tirelessly, sharing the story of the Volari and the lessons they had encoded in their crystalline memory. His speeches were infused with urgency and hope, urging humanity to embrace change not as a threat, but as an invitation to evolve. Yet resistance remained fierce. Political factions clung to outdated ideologies, fearing loss of control. Corporations wrestled with the disruption of entrenched markets. The Purifier movement escalated its propaganda, casting the Volari memory as a dangerous influence that threatened human purity and sovereignty. Elon faced these battles not with anger but with unwavering conviction. He believed that the true power lay not in dominance but in remembrance, in the ability to hold on to what truly mattered amid the chaos. At the heart of the revolution was a profound philosophical shift, memory itself was alive, a force that shaped reality. The Volari had taught humanity that to forget was to die a little, and to remember was to live fully. This insight sparked a renaissance of art, science, and spirituality, blending into a new cultural tapestry. Technologies evolved to enhance memory and empathy, devices that could share feelings, memories, even dreams across vast distances. Communities restructured around shared stories and collective healing. Elon found himself drawn to a small town in the Pacific Northwest, where a pilot project was underway to create a living archive of human experience, an evolving memory ecosystem. Here, people gathered daily to share not only facts but emotions, creating a rich, dynamic web of understanding. Maya Salas joined him in this endeavor, her skills as a cultural liaison proving invaluable in weaving together diverse voices. Together, they witnessed the power of remembered stories to heal old wounds and spark new beginnings. Yet even as hope flourished, Elon knew the journey was far from over. The Valari memory had hinted at looming challenges, environmental crises, social upheaval, existential threats, that would test humanity's resolve. He worked closely with scientists and leaders, advocating for solutions grounded not only in technology but in empathy and shared purpose. One evening, Elon and Maya stood on a hill overlooking the town, watching the sunset paint the sky in hues of gold and violet. "Do you ever wonder if we're ready?" Maya asked quietly. Elon took a deep breath. "I don't know. But I believe we have to be. Because this," he gestured toward the horizon, "this is our chance. To choose who we become." The memory disk, now safely housed in a secure facility, continued to pulse softly, a heartbeat echoing the rhythm of human progress. Elon often visited, feeling its presence as both guide and challenge. The story it told was never static, it evolved as humanity did, a living testament to the power of memory and love. In quiet moments, Elon reflected on his own journey, from restless entrepreneur to cosmic messenger. The discovery on Mars had shattered his understanding of reality, but it had also revealed a profound truth, that life, in all its forms, was bound by a shared thread of memory and hope. The world was changing, sometimes painfully, but with each step forward, Elon felt the fragile promise of a new beginning. As night fell and stars emerged, he whispered a silent vow, to protect this legacy, to nurture the seed of empathy planted among the stars, and to keep reminding humanity that life is full of surprises, but love will always lead the way. The world had changed, but the battle for its soul was far from over. Elon Musk found himself at the epicenter of a swirling storm of ideas, emotions, and power struggles. The Valari's memory had sparked a revolution, but revolutions were never neat or peaceful. As the new cultural renaissance took hold, old wounds reopened. The purifier movement, emboldened by fear and misinformation, grew more aggressive, staging protests and cyber attacks aimed at discrediting the continuum and its message of empathy. Governments wavered, caught between the demands of their citizens and the influence of entrenched interests. Elon faced constant scrutiny from the media and political figures who questioned his motives and the validity of the Valari revelations. Yet he remained steadfast. He knew the true test was not in the battles fought on Earth but in the transformation within each person's heart. In private, Elon struggled with doubt and exhaustion. The weight of expectation was crushing at times. Maya Salas became his closest confidant, grounding him with her calm wisdom and unwavering belief in their shared mission. Together, they navigated the complexities of leadership and love, finding solace in moments of quiet connection amid the chaos. Meanwhile, scientific teams worked feverishly to decode more of the Valari's memory disk, uncovering advanced knowledge of sustainable energy, biological resilience, and consciousness transfer. These breakthroughs promised to revolutionize technology and medicine but also raised profound ethical questions. Could humanity wield such power without repeating the mistakes of the past? At a global summit convened to address these issues, Elon delivered a keynote that captured the moment's gravity. We stand at a crossroads where technology meets humanity's deepest values. The Valari taught us that survival is not just about science but about empathy, memory, and responsibility. We must choose not only what we create but who we become. The summit sparked intense debate and collaboration, laying the groundwork for new international agreements focused on ethical innovation and shared stewardship of knowledge. Yet beneath these high ideals, tensions simmered. Some nations sought to monopolize Valari technology for military or economic advantage. The purifiers ramped up efforts to spread fear, claiming that embracing the Valari legacy meant surrendering human identity. Elon knew these conflicts could tear humanity apart if left unchecked. He and Maya launched grassroots initiatives aimed at education and dialogue, empowering communities to engage with the Valari message on their own terms. Stories from ordinary people, their struggles, hopes, and transformations, became a powerful antidote to fear and division. As the months passed, Elon also grappled with his own evolving understanding of identity and purpose. The Valari memory had opened doors to new ways of thinking about consciousness and connection, challenging the boundaries between self and other. In moments of solitude, Elon meditated on these ideas, seeking clarity amid the complexity. One night, as he sat beneath the stars with Maya, he shared a revelation: maybe the future isn't about being separate individuals but about becoming part of something greater, a shared memory, a collective heart. Maya smiled softly. It's the ultimate act of love. To lose yourself and find yourself at the same time. The journey that began with a shocking discovery on Mars had unfolded into a profound exploration of what it meant to be human. Elon's mission was no longer just about technology or exploration, it was about awakening a deeper empathy, a new consciousness that could guide humanity through the turbulence ahead. As new challenges loomed, climate crises, social upheaval, technological dilemmas, Elon and his allies remained committed to the vision the Valari had set in motion. The memory disk pulsed on, a beacon of hope and a reminder of the fragile, beautiful thread that connected all life. In the quiet moments before dawn, Elon often reflected on the journey's winding path, the sacrifices, the revelations, the unexpected alliances. He knew that the story was far from over. But with every step, with every remembered lesson, humanity edged closer to the future it was meant to create. The landscape of Earth's future was rapidly shifting, and Elon Musk found himself navigating uncharted waters. The Valari memory disk had become both a source of inspiration and a catalyst for profound change. As the world grappled with its implications, Elon's role evolved into that of a bridge, connecting disparate factions, fostering dialogue between science and spirituality, technology and empathy. At the heart of this transformation was the realization that humanity's greatest challenges were not technological but deeply human: trust, connection, and the courage to embrace vulnerability. Elon and Maya Salas spearheaded a new initiative called the Memory Nexus, a global network designed to harness collective memory and empathy through advanced neural interfaces inspired by the Valari technology. This network allowed people to share experiences and emotions in unprecedented ways, fostering understanding across cultural and ideological divides. The Memory Nexus quickly gained traction, transforming communities and catalyzing movements toward reconciliation and cooperation. However, the path was far from smooth. Skeptics questioned the ethical ramifications of shared consciousness, fearing loss of privacy and autonomy. The Purifier faction intensified its opposition, framing the Nexus as a threat to human identity and freedom. Elon faced relentless scrutiny, yet his conviction never wavered. He believed that remembering, and sharing memories, was the key to healing a fractured world. One evening, during a live broadcast demonstrating the Memory Nexus, Elon shared a personal story encoded within his own neural stream. It was a vivid recollection of the first moments on the alien planet, the crystalline structures shimmering in alien light, the sense of profound connection with the Valari's legacy. Viewers worldwide were moved by the raw emotion and clarity, sparking widespread curiosity and empathy. The broadcast marked a turning point, as millions began to embrace the Memory Nexus, finding common ground in shared experience. As adoption grew, unexpected challenges emerged. The blending of memories sometimes led to emotional overload, disorientation, and conflicts over interpretation. Elon and his team worked tirelessly to develop safeguards and ethical frameworks, emphasizing consent and respect for individual boundaries. Meanwhile, global leaders grappled with new questions about governance and the distribution of this transformative technology. Could the Memory Nexus be regulated without stifling its potential to unify? Amid these tensions, Elon found solace in quiet moments with Maya, their relationship deepening as they faced the weight of responsibility together. They often reflected on the paradox of their mission: to connect humanity more deeply, they sometimes had to confront isolation and doubt within themselves. The Valari memory continued to pulse at the core of the Nexus, a silent guide illuminating the path forward. Elon realized that this journey was as much about inner transformation as outer discovery. One night, standing beneath a canopy of stars, Elon shared a revelation with Maya: we're not just building technology. We're cultivating a new way of being, a shared consciousness rooted in empathy and memory. Maya nodded. It's the next stage of evolution. And it's terrifying and beautiful all at once. The memory disk's glow seemed to echo their words, a beacon of hope in the unfolding darkness. As the world adjusted to this new paradigm, Elon remained vigilant. He understood that the promise of the Volari legacy was fragile, dependent on humanity's willingness to choose love over fear, connection over division. The memory nexus had opened a door, but the true test lay beyond it, in the hearts and minds of every individual. The story that began with a shocking discovery on Mars had become a living testament to the power of memory, empathy, and hope. Elon's journey was far from over. Yet, with each shared memory and every act of kindness, he felt the fragile threads of a new world weaving together, one where life's surprises might still come, but love would always lead the way. The momentum behind the memory nexus was unstoppable, yet the road ahead was fraught with unexpected challenges that tested Elon Musk's leadership and resolve. As the technology integrated more deeply into society, it became clear that the true revolution was not in the machines but in the human spirit, how individuals and communities responded to newfound connectivity. Across the globe, people experienced profound shifts in perspective. Long-standing grudges began to dissolve as shared memories and emotions fostered understanding. Families separated by distance or conflict found healing in the intimate exchange of feelings. But these breakthroughs were shadowed by an undercurrent of fear and uncertainty. Not everyone was ready to embrace such vulnerability. Governments debated regulations, and factions wary of losing control sought to restrict access. The Purifier movement escalated their campaign, spreading misinformation that the memory nexus was a form of mind control. Elon faced these attacks with a mixture of frustration and determination. He knew the stakes were enormous, not only for technology but for the very essence of what it meant to be human. In private, he confided in Maya Solis, who had become both his anchor and collaborator. Together, they worked to address ethical dilemmas, ensuring that the nexus prioritized consent and the protection of individuality. The team developed new protocols allowing users to control the flow of shared memories, creating safe spaces for exploration without overwhelming vulnerability. One pivotal moment came when a global crisis, a devastating natural disaster, struck a densely populated region. The memory nexus was mobilized as a tool for real-time empathy and coordination. Volunteers connected through shared experiences to provide comfort, relay information, and organize aid. The world witnessed the power of collective memory to inspire action and resilience. Elon watched the response unfold with a mixture of pride and humility. It was a living proof of the vision he and the Volari had sparked. Yet, the crisis also exposed vulnerabilities. The system was overwhelmed at times, and some users experienced emotional fatigue. Elon recognized that while technology could facilitate connection, the human heart required balance and care. The experience deepened his commitment to fostering not only innovation but compassion and self-awareness. Meanwhile, the scientific community delved deeper into the Volari disk secrets. New discoveries emerged about the nature of consciousness and the potential for memory to transcend physical boundaries. These breakthroughs hinted at possibilities once considered science fiction: immortality through memory preservation, interspecies communication, even the merging of human and alien cognitive patterns. Elon approached these revelations with cautious optimism. The ethical questions were profound. What did it mean to preserve consciousness beyond death? Could such technologies deepen empathy or risk dehumanization? At a symposium convened to explore these questions, Elon delivered a powerful address: "We stand on the threshold of redefining life itself. But with this power comes responsibility. We must ensure that memory remains a source of connection, not control, of love, not fear." The speech resonated deeply, setting the tone for ongoing global dialogues. In quieter moments, Elon reflected on his own journey, from the restless entrepreneur driven by ambition to a guardian of a cosmic legacy. The Valari had changed everything, forcing him to confront not only the mysteries of the universe but the complexities within himself. His relationship with Maya blossomed into a partnership rooted in shared vision and mutual support. Together, they envisioned a future where technology and empathy coexisted in harmony, guiding humanity through uncertainty toward a new dawn. As the memory nexus expanded and evolved, Elon remained vigilant. He knew that the true measure of success was not in technological marvels but in the hearts transformed by memory and love. The story that began with a shocking discovery on Mars had become a living testament to humanity's capacity for growth, resilience, and hope. Elon understood that the journey was far from over. But with every connection made and every memory shared, the fragile promise of a better world grew stronger, one where the surprises of life were met not with fear, but with an open heart. The memory nexus had blossomed into a global phenomenon, but Elon Musk sensed that beneath its dazzling promise lurked an undercurrent of complexity that few had fully grasped. The technology that allowed people to share memories and emotions was reshaping society, but it also challenged fundamental notions of privacy, identity, and free will. Elon found himself at a crossroads, wrestling with the unintended consequences of a tool born from the Valari's gift. The Nexus enabled unprecedented empathy, but some users became addicted to the shared experiences, blurring boundaries between self and others. Cases of emotional overload, identity confusion, and social withdrawal began to surface. Elon and Maya Solis convened a multidisciplinary task force, blending neuroscientists, ethicists, psychologists, and community leaders to address these emerging issues. Their goal was to evolve the Nexus not just as a technology, but as a living ecosystem that nurtured healthy human connection. One breakthrough came when the team introduced memory anchors, personalized markers that helped users navigate shared experiences safely, maintaining a clear sense of self while embracing empathy. This innovation balanced connection with autonomy, allowing people to explore new depths of understanding without losing themselves. The task force also emphasized education, creating programs to help users develop emotional resilience and ethical awareness. Meanwhile, the Purifier movement continued to foment distrust and division, seizing on these vulnerabilities to argue that the Nexus was a dangerous experiment. Elon faced growing pressure from political and corporate factions seeking to regulate or even ban the technology. The struggle for the soul of the memory nexus mirrored a larger battle over humanity's future. Elon's resolve hardened. He knew that memory and empathy were keys to survival in a world facing environmental collapse, social fragmentation, and rapid technological upheaval. But these tools demanded maturity and responsibility. During a high-profile panel discussion, Elon articulated this vision: memory connects us, but it also demands that we respect boundaries and honor individuality. The future depends on our ability to balance these forces with wisdom and compassion. The dialogue sparked widespread reflection and inspired grassroots movements focused on mindful technology use. In quieter moments, Elon retreated to a remote cabin in the Cascades with Maya. Surrounded by nature's stillness, they reflected on the journey from Mars to this pivotal moment. Elon shared a recurring vision, one of the Valari's crystalline structures shimmering against a starry sky, a symbol of interconnectedness and transformation. Maya listened, sensing the deep truth beneath the imagery. Their partnership deepened as they embraced the paradox of progress: technology that unites, yet challenges; memory that heals, yet demands courage. The Valari memory disk remained a silent companion, its pulses a reminder of the responsibility they bore. As the memory nexus matured, new frontiers opened. Researchers explored integrating Valari-inspired consciousness transfer techniques, raising profound questions about mortality and identity. Could memories survive beyond the physical body? Could love and empathy transcend death itself? Elon pondered these questions with a mixture of awe and caution. The prospect of immortality through memory preservation challenged humanity's deepest beliefs about life and loss. He convened a global forum to explore these themes, emphasizing the need for ethical frameworks rooted in empathy and humility. The conversations spanned cultures and disciplines, reflecting the complexity and wonder of the human experience. Meanwhile, the world outside the Nexus grappled with ongoing crises, climate disasters, political upheaval, and technological disruptions. Elon saw the memory nexus as a beacon amid the storm, a tool to foster resilience and unity. He worked with leaders and communities to integrate memory sharing into disaster response, education, and healing initiatives. The impact was profound, as stories of survival and hope traveled faster and deeper than ever before. Yet Elon knew the journey was far from complete. The legacy of the Volari was a living challenge, a call to remember, to connect, and to evolve. Each step forward required courage to face fear, embrace vulnerability, and choose love. As Elon stood beneath the stars one evening, he whispered a vow, to protect this fragile legacy and nurture the seed of empathy planted among the stars. The story that began with a shocking discovery on Mars had grown into a profound exploration of what it meant to be human. Elon's mission was no longer about conquest or technology alone, it was about awakening a collective heart, ready to meet life's surprises with hope and open arms. The world had entered a new era where the boundaries between individual and collective consciousness blurred, and Elon Musk found himself at the forefront of this unprecedented transformation. The memory nexus, once a futuristic vision, was now deeply woven into the fabric of daily life. People accessed shared memories to resolve conflicts, learn new skills, and build empathy in ways never before imagined. But as the nexus expanded, so too did the questions about the nature of self and freedom. Elon's leadership was challenged not only by external critics but by the very technology he helped create. As users delved deeper into shared experiences, some reported feelings of losing their own identity, struggling to distinguish personal memories from collective ones. This phenomenon sparked intense debate among neuroscientists, ethicists, and cultural leaders. Elon convened an international summit focused on the ethics of shared consciousness, bringing together voices from around the globe. The discussions were both exhilarating and sobering, highlighting the delicate balance between connection and autonomy. A breakthrough emerged with the concept of memory sovereignty, a framework ensuring individuals maintained control over their personal narratives while participating in the collective. This principle became a cornerstone of the Nexus, shaping its ongoing evolution. Despite these advances, tension simmered beneath the surface. The Purifier faction, now fragmented but still vocal, ramped up campaigns warning of cultural erosion and loss of humanity. Meanwhile, political and corporate interests jockeyed for control over the powerful technology. Elon remained steadfast in advocating for open access and ethical stewardship, often clashing with entrenched powers. Amid this turbulence, Elon found unexpected allies in grassroots movements worldwide. Communities used the Nexus to preserve endangered languages and traditions, foster reconciliation in post-conflict zones, and support mental health initiatives. These stories of resilience and hope inspired Elon, reaffirming the core belief that memory and empathy could heal even the deepest wounds. In the midst of this whirlwind, Elon's personal life grew richer. His partnership with Maya Solis deepened into a profound bond, their shared vision and mutual support a source of strength. Together, they navigated the complexities of leadership, love, and legacy. One evening, during a quiet moment, Elon shared a reflection. The Volari showed us that memory is not just a record of the past but a bridge to the future. We're learning to walk that bridge together. Maya smiled, her eyes shining with understanding. It's the greatest journey we'll ever take. As the memory nexus reached new heights, Elon also confronted the mysteries hidden within the Volari disk itself. Recent analyses revealed encrypted sequences hinting at an even deeper level of consciousness, a potential form of interstellar communication or a map to other unknown realms. The revelation sent shockwaves through the scientific community, reigniting debates about humanity's place in the cosmos. Elon assembled a specialized team to decode these messages, driven by the hope that the Volari's legacy might hold further guidance or warnings. The work was painstaking and filled with moments of awe and frustration. Each discovery opened new questions, challenging existing paradigms. Meanwhile, the world faced mounting crises, climate change accelerated, political divisions deepened, and technological disruptions created both opportunities and anxieties. Elon saw the memory nexus as a vital tool for resilience, helping humanity find common ground amid chaos. He advocated for policies that integrated empathy and shared memory into education, governance, and crisis response. The impact was palpable: communities more united, conflicts de-escalated, and innovation guided by collective wisdom. Yet Elon understood the fragility of this progress. The journey sparked by the shocking Mars discovery was ongoing, a delicate dance between hope and fear, connection and individuality, memory and identity. In moments of solitude, Elon often returned to the memory disk, its crystalline glow a silent reminder of the cosmic legacy entrusted to him. He felt the weight and the privilege of carrying a message not just for Earth but for all life reaching toward the stars. As the chapter of his life unfolded, Elon embraced the uncertainty with courage and love, knowing that the true discovery was not just about Mars but about the boundless potential within every human heart. As the memory nexus matured, Elon Musk stood at the edge of a new frontier. A threshold where technology, consciousness, and cosmic mystery converged in ways no one had fully imagined. The encrypted sequences within the Volari disk, once obscure puzzles, began to reveal patterns that hinted at an ancient cosmic language, a code that transcended human understanding. Elon's specialized team, working around the clock, unraveled fragments that suggested communication not just across time, but across dimensions. This revelation ignited a sense of awe and trepidation throughout the scientific community. Could humanity be on the verge of a breakthrough that would rewrite everything it knew about existence? The world watched with bated breath as Elon prepared to share the findings. The global broadcast was unlike any before. Elon addressed the audience with a solemn gravity, unveiling the discovery, an interdimensional message embedded within the Volari memory, a call to humanity to awaken, to evolve beyond the confines of earthbound perception. The message was poetic yet profound, speaking of unity, transformation, and the eternal dance of life and consciousness. The response was electric. Some hailed it as proof of extraterrestrial intelligence and the next step in human evolution. Others met it with skepticism or fear, wary of what such knowledge might mean. Elon welcomed dialogue, emphasizing that the discovery was not an endpoint but a beginning, a challenge to embrace curiosity and compassion. As debates raged, Elon and Maya delved deeper into the philosophical implications. The Volari's message spoke of interconnectedness that transcended physical reality, urging humanity to expand its understanding of self and other. It was a call to transcend fear and division, to recognize that consciousness was a vast, shared ocean in which every individual was a wave. This vision inspired new movements dedicated to spiritual awakening and scientific exploration, blending ancient wisdom with cutting-edge technology. The memory nexus became a platform not only for sharing memories but for collective meditation, healing, and cosmic inquiry. Yet with such profound shifts came new tensions. The Purifier faction evolved into a clandestine network, determined to suppress the Volari legacy and preserve traditional human paradigms. Elon faced covert attacks and misinformation campaigns aimed at undermining the Nexus and its message of unity. In response, he strengthened alliances with global leaders, indigenous communities, and thought leaders who championed the transformative power of memory and empathy. Together, they crafted a manifesto for the future, an ethical charter grounded in respect for diversity, autonomy, and the sanctity of shared consciousness. Amidst these global struggles, Elon and Maya's personal journey took on new depth. They explored the boundaries of their own minds through the Nexus, sharing memories and emotions with a vulnerability that deepened their bond. They often found solace beneath the stars, contemplating the vastness of the universe and their place within it. One night, Elon confided a revelation: the Volari didn't just give us technology, they gave us a mirror. What we see in it is both beautiful and terrifying. But it's ours to choose how we respond. Maya nodded, her voice steady. We are the stewards of this legacy. Our choices will shape not only our future but the future of all life connected through consciousness. As the years passed, the memory nexus grew into a living testament to the Volari's vision, a network where technology and spirit merged, and where humanity glimpsed its own potential for transformation. Elon's leadership became less about command and more about stewardship, guiding a global community toward healing and awakening. The shocking discovery on Mars had blossomed into a profound journey, one that transcended planets and technologies to touch the very core of what it meant to be alive. In this unfolding story, Elon Musk's role was no longer just that of an innovator but of a guardian, of memory, empathy, and hope. The legacy of the Volare whispered through the stars, inviting humanity to step into a new chapter of unity and possibility, ready to face whatever surprises life might hold with open hearts and boundless courage. As the memory nexus wove itself deeper into the fabric of humanity's consciousness, Elon Musk faced a turning point that would define not just his legacy but the future of human evolution. The cosmic message encoded in the Volare disk had unlocked doors to possibilities previously confined to dreams and science fiction. Yet, with each revelation came a heightened awareness of the fragility of this new world, a world where memories, emotions, and identities intertwined in complex, unpredictable ways. Elon found himself navigating the delicate balance between innovation and responsibility, between expansion and preservation. The memory nexus was no longer simply a technological marvel, it was a living ecosystem, a shared mind that required careful tending. As debates over the ethical use of the nexus intensified, Elon championed a vision rooted in empathy and autonomy. He worked tirelessly to establish frameworks that empowered individuals to control their memories while fostering collective understanding. His message was clear: technology must serve humanity, not consume it. Our greatest strength lies in our ability to choose connection without losing ourselves. Meanwhile, the world grappled with mounting challenges. Climate crises, geopolitical tensions, and societal upheaval tested the resilience of communities connected through the nexus. Elon saw the technology as a beacon amid chaos, a tool to heal divisions and inspire cooperation. Global initiatives leveraged shared memories to rebuild trust, educate future generations, and cultivate compassion. Yet shadows loomed. The Purifier network, though diminished, had transformed into a covert force sowing discord and fear. Elon faced cyber attacks, misinformation campaigns, and political pushback, but his resolve remained unshaken. He forged alliances with unlikely partners, indigenous leaders, spiritual visionaries, and grassroots activists, creating a diverse coalition dedicated to protecting the legacy of the Volare and the promise of the Nexus. On a personal level, Elon's relationship with Maya deepened into a profound partnership grounded in shared purpose and mutual respect. Together, they explored the Nexus's potential not only for technology but for human connection. They used the platform to share memories of love, loss, and hope, inspiring millions worldwide. Their bond became a symbol of the very empathy and courage the Volare had sought to awaken. One pivotal moment came during a global summit on consciousness and technology. Elon presented the latest findings from the Volare disk, encrypted sequences suggesting pathways to interdimensional awareness and transcendent states of being. The revelation electrified the audience, sparking new dialogues about spirituality, science, and the nature of reality. Elon spoke with passion and humility: "We stand at the cusp of a new dawn. The Volare's gift challenges us to expand our minds and hearts, to embrace the unknown with courage and compassion." The summit catalyzed a global movement dedicated to exploring consciousness as a unifying force. Meanwhile, Elon continued the delicate work of integrating Volare technology into everyday life while respecting cultural diversity and personal boundaries. The memory nexus evolved, incorporating emotional hygiene, tools and ethical safeguards designed to nurture mental well-being alongside empathy. These innovations helped users navigate the complexities of shared memory without losing their sense of self. As the years unfolded, Elon reflected on the journey that had begun with a shocking discovery on Mars and grown into a profound exploration of humanity's potential. The Volare's legacy was no longer a distant mystery but a living force shaping the future. Elon understood that the true discovery was not the technology itself but the awakening of a collective heart, ready to face life's challenges with resilience, wisdom, and love. Standing beneath a sky alive with stars, Elon whispered a vow to himself and to humanity, to protect the fragile gift of memory and empathy, to honor the Valaris' vision, and to guide the world toward a future where connection and compassion reign. The story of Mars and the memory nexus was a testament to the power of hope, the courage to embrace change, and the unbreakable bond that links every soul across space and time. The final chapter of Elon Musk's journey with the memory nexus and the Valaris' cosmic legacy brought a convergence of past revelations, present challenges, and future possibilities. Years of innovation, struggle, and profound transformation had led humanity to a pivotal moment, a new dawn shaped by empathy, memory, and the boundless curiosity of the human spirit. Elon stood at the helm of this evolving reality, reflecting on the astonishing journey from a dusty Martian cave to a network that connected millions in shared consciousness. The Valari disk's shimmering crystal had become more than a relic, it was a symbol of humanity's potential to transcend isolation and fear, to embrace unity without losing individuality. In this closing chapter, Elon faced what many considered his greatest test: how to ensure that the power of shared memory would be a force for healing rather than division, for freedom rather than control. The world was still grappling with tensions and inequalities, with voices both hopeful and fearful echoing across the digital landscape. Elon understood that technology alone could not solve humanity's deepest problems. It was the choices people made, their willingness to face discomfort, to listen, to forgive, that would shape the future. To guide this evolution, Elon and Maya Solis launched the Global Empathy Initiative, a program that combined memory nexus technology with education, art, and community building. The initiative aimed to cultivate empathy as a skill, a habit, and a way of life. Schools incorporated memory-sharing exercises that allowed students to experience perspectives vastly different from their own. Communities used shared memories to heal historical wounds and foster reconciliation. Artists and storytellers drew inspiration from the collective consciousness, creating works that resonated with universal human experiences. The impact was profound. Across continents, the initiative sparked a renaissance of understanding and cooperation. It showed that empathy, nurtured through shared memory, could bridge divides once thought insurmountable. Yet Elon and Maya never lost sight of the challenges. Privacy remained a crucial concern. The team implemented robust protections to ensure that every individual retained sovereignty over their memories and experiences. Consent and agency were pillars of the nexus, honored in every interaction. Elon emphasized this in speeches and writings: true connection requires respect for boundaries. Our shared memories are gifts, not weapons. At the same time, the Valaris' final encrypted messages beckoned with new mysteries, questions about the nature of consciousness beyond the physical, about love and existence in realms humanity was only beginning to glimpse. Elon saw these enigmas as invitations to continued exploration, to humility in the face of the infinite. The journey was far from over. In his quieter moments, Elon often revisited the memory disk, its light pulsing softly like a heartbeat from another world. He felt a profound gratitude, not just for the technology or discoveries, but for the human capacity to grow, adapt, and love. He reflected on the lessons learned, that life's greatest surprises often come wrapped in uncertainty, that hope and resilience are born in connection, and that the legacy we leave is not in trophies or inventions but in the hearts we touch. The story closed not with an end, but with an open invitation, a call to every reader, every dreamer, every seeker, to embrace memory, to cultivate empathy, and to step boldly into the unknown with courage and compassion. Elon's final words echoed through the nexus and beyond: life is full of surprises, but love will always lead the way. As stars twinkled above, humanity stood united, ready for whatever wonders awaited in the vast expanse of space and the limitless depths of the human soul. Hit subscribe and leave a comment with where you're watching from. This story might just spark a new beginning. What's one thing that always pushes you forward, even when things get tough?